All right, it's Bobby Bryant Day here at the Thistle Nationals, and here we have the man himself, Bobby Bryant. We're going to ask him a few questions, get to know him a little better. So, Bobby, tell us a little bit about yourself. We know that you love racing sailboats, but what do you do for fun outside of racing sailboats?
Boy, that's hard because racing sailboats is what I do most of the time, all the time, especially in the winter in Rochester when we sail at least 10 races every week for 6 full months.
Ooh,
So when I'm not sailing boats, I'm often like working on them.
Cool. Now, in talking to your wife Linda, she said something about you've single-handedly ripped apart your home and put it back together.
Yeah, we have an antique house, 1888. We're the third owners, so when you get a hold of it, you kind of take it right to the end. It sits right across the street from the yacht club on Sandy Beach on Lake Ontario, so it's a real keeper. And it was a total gut job, and I was able to maintain the feeling of an 1888 house. And we love to have people come and stay with us.
Sweet.
People love to come back.
Awesome.
And we have an outdoor shower too that Greg Fisher just loves, and it only has cold water.
That's great. So we want to learn a little bit about what you did in your previous career, because I just learned that you retired after 40 plus years. What'd you do for a living?
Yeah, I was an electronics guy, and I spent some super quality years in research labs at Eastman Kodak, making like the device you have in your hand happen. Back then, in the early 80s, we were making it happen with big gigantic breadboards, and solid state imaging is what we called it. And the film people at Eastman Kodak, they weren't really happy with us. We were kind of the skunk works. And we kept showing them that the future wasn't going to be very good for Kodak unless they woke up. And they really never did wake up. And that's probably why Kodak's in the situation it's in. And then I left that area because after you develop that kind of technology, it becomes kind of a jelly bean, which it is now. And I went into an area of Kodak which was responsible for government and commercial, which had a lot to do with satellites and that, and imaging from space. And from there I ended up getting very fortunate to work on a project that was commercial, that flew pipelines, natural gas pipelines, with a small Cessna aircraft, and we would shoot laser beams down on a pipeline that you knew was there from GPS, and anytime there was a gas leak, the reflection that came off was signaled, and you could go back and identify where the leaks were.
Wow, that's sweet.
And that's the way I ushered my career out, because that project ended, and it was just a good time to end with it.
Awesome. So you're far too young to be fully retired, and way too active. So what are you doing these days?
Well, one of the skills I developed on this pipeline job was after electronics finished on the airplane was loaded with so much equipment that we were unable to fill the fuel tanks all the way up, and which really cut into their ability to fly pipelines, because they just had to come back and refuel. And it went something like this, with the chief pilot, who was pretty much like a sailor, because pilots and sailors are pretty similar people. I took a bulkhead out of the back to put a camera in. The bulkhead weighed 50 pounds. I had a scale there, and I told the chief pilot, I said, you know what? I bet I could make this out of carbon, and it would be just as strong, if not stronger, and I could bring it in under 5 pounds. And that was the beginning of my second career doing carbon. So in the course of about 2 years, I built something like, I don't know, maybe 20 different carbon parts for that airplane. And every time we put the part on, something improved or the plane got lighter. And it's a great media. It's a cool thing to know. I know that people like Rossi from Canada and that have really done great things with it, and it's a cool media, really light, it takes on any form, and it's sexy.
Sweet. You got any plans to build any cool Thistle parts, or are you staying mainstream?
I don't know. I have some ideas. A friend of mine, Doug Weatherby, from St. Pete, races Porsches, and he talks about taking impressions of people's bodies for carbon racing seats, and talks like, like $4,000 or $5,000 people are paying for these crazy seats, to shave a couple seconds off. But I mean, that's like sailboat racing too.
Mm-hmm.
As far as carbon Thistle parts, I don't know. I'm not sure I could. Doing carbon right is really time consuming, and it's to make it really look sexy, you have to line up the weave, and you have to pay a lot of attention to detail. Maybe paddles. Maybe
Paddles?
I could do something like paddles.
So $30 spinnaker pole, probably not so much, huh?
Well, I reinforce spinnaker poles because the carbon poles have been known to break. So there's a bunch of people around here who you'll see they have an extra couple wraps on their poles out of Kevlar, because Kevlar and carbon have load factors in different directions, and what you need for the carbon problem is it needs a wrap of Kevlar, because the force against it is in the theta direction, in XY. So modifying poles so they don't break.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thanks for spending time with us. We're going to do a little video interview with the other two Thistlers at Nationals here at North Cape. Enjoy your week here. Thanks for
Skip.
coming.
Thanks for having me.